schedule on Thursday. We have talked a lot about WALL-E this year. Is he good? Is he evil? Is he actually alive? I mean, yeah, I think so. And today we return to WALL-E to determine, is WALL-E a Christmas movie? Because nothing says Christmas like capitalism destroying the earth, am I right? You know what? I don't think I planned for that to be so appropriate. On the surface, WALL-E might not seem like much of a Christmas movie. I mean, there's no magic, there's no snow, 34th Street is literally covered in garbage. Although WALL-E does make pretty good use of Christmas lights, and he does have a workshop where he collects a lot of toys. And that's because WALL-E is nope, that's not the theory. The major theme most people take away from WALL-E is environmentalism, that we need to take care of our planet or things could get really out of control. And while that definitely is like the main major theme, there is another one, and that is Christmas. Well, sort of. Stick with me. All right, let me be clear. I don't want this video to come across as like preachy or anything. So if we could just all join hands and bow our heads. No, just kidding. But seriously, one of the cool things about WALL-E is all of the different like Christian themes running through it. And since this is a Christmas video, we thought it would just be a good opportunity to just point out a lot of the parallels that exist. And there are a lot of them. Probably the most obvious one is the comparison between WALL-E and Noah's Ark. In Noah's Ark, God sends a flood to Earth to purge the planet of sin whilst saving the worthy on an ark. In WALL-E, the trash can be seen as the flood, wiping out most of mankind while a select few escape onto the Axiom, aka the space ark. Genesis 6:8 reads, Noah found favor with the Lord, which is the reason why he was chosen to be saved. Interestingly, the word Axiom, the name of the ship, nay, space ark, comes from the Greek word axios, which literally translates to worthy. After the flood, Noah sends a dove down to find an olive leaf so that they'll know that it's safe to exit the ark. On day 1, it returns empty-handed, but 7 days later, they try again, and it indeed returns with the olive leaf. Eve is pretty obviously the dove, right down to her graceful appearance and just the way she flies. I mean, she is literally said from the Axiom, space ark, to find vegetation and let them know that it is safe to return to Earth. Also, before I move on, can we just back up a second and point out that her name is Eve, as in Adam and yes, I know WALL-E's name isn't actually Adam, but he pretty much serves the same purpose, at least in terms of being the only man left on Earth, or the only man on Earth, and one who is longing for a companion. Not to mention, in the credits, they just so happen to end up under a tree that sprouts from the plant that brought life back to Earth. You could call it a tree of life. But anyway, it's not just that Eve is looking for vegetation, it's the timing. Remember, the Axiom has been sending probes down to Earth for years.
But no probes ever come back positive before.
But it just so happens that on the day of their 700th anniversary, Eve comes back positive. Another lesser known part of the Noah's Ark story is that it's also when God decided to shorten the lifespan of humans, because until that point they had been living to like over 900 years. Geez, and I'm complaining about turning 29 next year. But rather than living for like a millennia, God decides that human life is only going to be up to 120 years. In WALL-E, we get a nice shot of all of the previous captains of the Axiom, and we are able to see how long each of them lived. There have been 6 captains, including the current one, and their ages are as follows: 143, 131, 140, 124, 128, and then the current one is only 30. Now, it's clearly not a perfect line right down, but on average, you can see their lifespan is dropping. And I think it's interesting that right as they're about to hit the 120-year mark is also when Eve happens to return with the plant. And speaking of plants, agriculture is another big part of the movie, and one of the first things the humans start doing after they return home. The captain says they're going to grow pizza plants. God, that would actually be a miracle. But instead, we see, of all things, one of the things they're growing is grapes, which stands out because of what it says in Genesis 9:20. Noah, being a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. Although honestly, it doesn't end up really working out for him that well. The other thing they start doing immediately is repopulating the earth, which is also the other thing God told Noah to do in Genesis 9:1. Be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. In fact, this is even foreshadowed earlier in the movie by John and Mary when Mary says to John,
John, get ready to have some kids!
Interesting choice of names, John and Mary. I mean, personally, they stand out to me because they are our own parents' names. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. But they also have a lot of significance in the Bible. John is one of Jesus's earliest disciples and drops everything he's doing upon meeting him to become a follower of his. And there are a lot of Marys, but most notably Mary, who gave birth to Jesus, and Mary Magdalene, who Jesus first revealed himself to after he was resurrected. Which leads us to our next big theme, that Wally is Jesus. Or at the very least, a Christ-like figure. John is the first human Wally meets in the movie.
John.
And it basically takes him no time at all to liberate John from his otherwise mindless existence. And then shortly after, he runs into Mary and has pretty much the exact same effect on her as well. I mean, there's not really even much of an argument to be made here. I mean, the two people Wally interacts with are the two people who break away from the system. I mean, that's what happens. In fact, Wally just sort of has this effect on everyone he comes into contact with, like all of the rogue robots. He sets them free, and then they just sort of immediately start following him and helping him accomplish his pursuits. But similar to Jesus, this eventually gets Wally into trouble. Jesus was crucified under Pontius Pilate, the king of the people. Wally was essentially killed by, wait for it, the autopilot, the king of the machines. He also then sacrifices himself so everyone on the ship can live, and then comes back to life a little while later. So, you know, who else does that sound like? If you said Jesus, yes, that was the obvious answer I was going for. Right down to the, like, waiting a few minutes to reveal himself after he's come back. Anyway, the point is there are just tons of parallels in Wall-E, but what does that have to do with Christmas? Well, in Luke 24:27, Jesus reveals to all of his disciples that all of the Old Testament is actually about him. And beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. So, if the Old Testament is actually all about the coming of Jesus, and Christmas is about the birth of Jesus, and Wall-E is a story of Noah's Ark, and Noah's Ark is a story from the Old Testament, then yes, Wall-E is a Christmas movie. Merry Christmas, everybody. Hope you're having a wonderful holiday. Let me know in the towel section down below, what is your favorite Christmas movie? Guys, thanks for watching. As always, please like this video if you haven't already, and subscribe so you don't miss any future Wall-E content on this channel. If you want to find out whether or not Wall-E is evil, you can check out this video right here.